Welcome! In this video we will talk about how the Mexican territory was during and after Texas independence, as well as a brief explanation of what was this event.
Yeah, that's right. In the same way, I'm going to try to explain the topographic methods that were used at that time for land measurement and how they differ from those who are currently used.
What was Texas Revolution? This goes way back to the independence of Mexico, when our country had just begun to crawl as an independent country.
That's correct. When achieving its independence, Mexico was a vast territory of over 4 million square kilometers with a small population of over 6.5 million inhabitants. But the most of them were located in the center and the south of the country.
Due to these aspects and the remoteness of the cities, the difficult access to the northern region, the division within political groups, and the lack of resources, most of the northern problems remain unsolved. At the same time, curbing the ambition of foreign settlers and the expansionist policy of the United States of America, these were the beginnings of the war that culminated of the separation at Texas from Mexico in 1836 and its annexation to the United States of America in 1846.
At the end of Mexico and Texas War, the government of the United States immediately recognized Texas as a sovereign country, with the purpose of annexing it to its territory in a near future, as my classmate Manny mentioned.
However, the Mexican government didn't recognize Texas independence until the late 1840s, in Texas considered a rebel province to be conquered.
As if that wasn't enough, Mexico ceded the territories of La Mesilla, Northern California, and New Mexico, which means the loss of approximately 80 square kilometers more along with the sum of the total land of Texas.
These events were the basis of a major conflict that culminated in the invasion of US troops into Mexico, one of the most unfair wars in history, but that's another story.
It is very interesting, but do you know what measurement methods the mathematicians of that time based on to know how much territory Mexico gave to the United States?
Understandably, there are precise records that confirm what kind of measurement methods were used on the period of several of these events in which Mexico ceded or lost a half of its territory. However, I recently read an article about how the Spanish settlers have calculated the area of the country, and I thought it was a significant proposal method that Manny will speak more detail.
Personally, I find very interesting. The method consisted on drawing a scale map, either on paper or wood, with a rectangular shape. Furthermore, the area of the rectangle in which the map has been drawn is measured and weighed with a scale, more precisely with a high precision scale.
Subsequently, the contour of the map is trimmed and refined, creating the basis for the rule of three process. If the weight of the rectangle equals a specific amount, the weight of the trimmed map will measure x. For x will be equal to the measure of the rectangle times the weight of the trimmed map, and all of that divided by the weight of the rectangle.
But don't forget that the map will be scaled, so the value of the x must be multiplied by the scale.
Now that you mention it, I find very curious this way of measuring surfaces of irregular territories, such as the territory lost by Mexico with the United States. Since nowadays, there are several simple and more precise methods in which a comparison is made between the map that wants to be measured in a known pattern area. There are also some geometric methods, in which simple mathematical formulas are used to calculate the area of regular geometric forms, such as triangles, or delineate areas by irregular curves.
Finally, we have the triangulation method. Briefly, a triangulation is a division of the area of the set of triangles whose sum is equal to the total area of the original polygon. In other words, the sum of the area of all the created triangles equals to the total of area of the original polygon or the original land of course.
Thank you for joining us in one more informative capsule. We hope you enjoyed and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!